There are times when you just want to get a lot done in a short amount of time. So let's batch some photos. Hi everyone, Tim Brown. Recently I discovered a pretty cool application that enables you to add edits to multiple photos at the same time, and what is otherwise known as batching photos. And I found the ideal app because it's called BatchPhoto and it's available in the Mac App Store. It's designed by Bits&Coffee, who are the developers, and it's fairly easy to use. So what I thought I would do is just simply walk you through the features. So when you first open the app for the first time, you'll get this dialog window, which basically explains some of the basic setup process. It's basically a 1, 2, 3 process, fairly simple to do. You can click next, and you can also have this option to watch a video that will also explain things in more detail. Since I'm already doing this, we don't have to do that. We're going to go ahead and click finish and just go right into the app. So you're looking at the basic interface here. Up above explains pretty much the 3-step, 4-step process: add photos, edit photos, setup, process. Really that simple. I'm going to go ahead and actually launch this full screen because it just looks more attractive that way. And I'm going to begin by adding photos on the right hand side. I'm going to just go ahead and just select all of these photos and just bring them right into my project. And you can see here that they are set up in a kind of a list view. You do have the option on the right hand side to make adjustments. So I can actually click on add photos if I wanted to add more. I can also remove a photo, so I can select one and then decide to remove it if I want. And then you have these view options where you can view details or just view small icons or view large icons. I'm going to keep them large because it looks better for demo purposes. Down below you can have the option to toggle on show view. So if you don't want to see the image, you can do that. And you of course can enhance the view by increasing or decreasing how close you want to look at it. So it's pretty straightforward there. So next, let's go ahead and move on to edit photos, because this is where you can do a lot with batching photos. So as you can see under edit photos, there's a pretty simple layout, just like the original frame. You can add filters or remove them. You can toggle back and forth between your images by just selecting the arrows in the top of the frame here. To the left is where you begin adding filters, which is the main function of this particular menu. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to add a filter, and you can see there are quite a range of options to choose from. Rather than go through all the filters menu, I'm just going to go through the different categories, so it's easier to follow that way. So as you can see here, under annotate, you can add a comment, date, watermark text, watermark logo, watermark mask. I'm just going to go ahead and add text. It's easier for me to do this way. And as you can see, there's text set up by default, Bits&Coffee, the developer's name. I'm just going to go here and add My Apple Podcast. And you have the option to add a keyword. So you can go through here and decide what keywords that you want to add. In this case, you could add symbols. If I wanted to add a registered mark, I can add that. And you can see that gets added to my watermark down below. And you have options to add text sequentially from a text file if you wanted to do that. Down below here, you can position the watermark however you want. In this case, I have bottom center selected. That's fine for me. You can also fine tune the position by controlling the XY axis points, the rotation of the watermark, etc. You can also change the font type. So if you want to change that, you can do that as well. And you can also change the color. And yes, you can also change the opacity. So as you can see here, the opacity is set to 50% by default. That's also fine for me. If you want to also manually position your mask or logo, you can do it like this, manually with your trackpad or your cursor, whatever you're using. And you can also manually resize it too, if you wanted to do that. When you're done, you just click OK. But you can also too just toggle back and forth at any time to see the preview mode of your edits as well as what the original looks like. And you can do this every step of the way, which is kind of nice. So what I'm going to do is continue adding filters, because really this is the best part of the app. So I'm going to go click add filters again, and instead of annotate, we're going to move down to the next category, which is transform. So transform, you can see here, you can rotate, auto crop, color replace, crop, flip, resize, resize advanced, roll, rotate, and then create thumbnails. What I'm going to do for my demo purposes is just select the resize advanced option. And what that does is it gives you an additional option that the normal resize menu does not give you, which is to add the DPI. And this is something that could become very useful for a lot of you who work with photos quite a bit. Let me just go ahead and add some edits here. I'm just going to change this sort of 1827 pixels to actually 3827 pixels. And you can see I have the maintain aspect ratio selected by default, so it automatically updates the dimensions across the board. I can also go in here and actually change the DPI as well. So I'm just going to double it to say 144, then click OK. And it just added that adjustment to all of the images. Let's continue to explore the other options. So I'm going to click Add Filter once again. I'm going to go down to Add FX. So here you can see you can add other cool types of effects to all the photos at once, including black and white, blur, charcoal, edge, emboss, Gaussian blur, implode, negate, noise, oil paint, sepia, solarize, shade, spread, swirl, and wave. I'm going to go ahead and add, let's see what will look nice here. Let's go ahead and add the charcoal feature and click OK. This is going to radically change my images, but since I'm working with art anyway, probably be a cool thing to do. So I'm going to make adjustments to this charcoal image by first adjusting the radius and the sigma, which is probably going to increase maybe the contrast a little bit. Yeah, there you go. All right, let's go down to decorate now. With decorate, you can add frames pretty much is what the main option is here, but you can also add this option called raise and or shadow. It's very similar, just adds a little bit of depth, but I'm going to go ahead and just choose simple border, click OK. And with simple border, you see here is just that, a simple border. You can of course control the dimensions of it in pixels, or you can use the drop down menu and change it in percents. I'm going to go ahead and first change my color option and I just want simple white. So I'm going to click OK, change that to white. And I'm actually pretty satisfied with this. Here's the original, here's preview, click OK. Okay, I'm ready to move on, so let's go to setup. So I'm going to go to setup, and here, this is basically where you just set up your output folder for where you want your new images to go. You can also choose the options to change the format and look at the range of formats that are available. So I'm going to go ahead and continue my setup process by selecting the drop down menu here. And you can see here you have some options. You can recreate original folder structure in selected folder, use original photos folder as output destination, create a subfolder in the original photos folder, which is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to call this folder processed, which is actually what is the name by default. Great. Now I'm ready to move on, so let's go to process. And it asks me, am I ready to process 7 photos? Yes. So as you can see, once the process has been completed, it will then let you know how everything turned out. So it says here, process completed without errors. Click OK. Now let's go ahead and check out everything, see how everything turned out. As you can see, here is my process folder, and here is the original folder. As you can see, that effect has been applied to all 7 photos. I'll let you get a little preview there of each one. And that is BatchPhoto. Another thing that I would like to share with you about this application, and this is something that you should consider whenever you are about ready to purchase an app, especially if you're going to do it through the App Store, is you want to do a little research first. You want to first look into the version history, get a sense of how long the app has been out, whether the developer is committed to adding improvements or developing the app over the years, especially as it coincides with the different operating systems and so forth. So that's exactly what I did, and I'm going to share that with you. So here is actually a screenshot of the website BatchPhoto by Bits&Coffee, and you can find a lot of information out here, including some tutorials. But it's also good to check out what's in the Mac App Store. So actually what I'm doing here is sharing with you BatchPhoto's listing on the web. because on the web is where you can find a little bit more information about the version history. So as you scroll down here, you'll see a description of the app, same description you find in the Mac App Store. But what you'll see here that you won't see in the Mac App Store is a version history. You'll see the latest update in the Mac App Store, but when you click on version history online, you can actually find the entire history of the app and what's happened from the time it was developed to the current moment. So as you look at the very beginning of the app's development, you can see here that the app was released in January of 2013. It's now 2018. That's a pretty good sign. That's telling us that the developer has been committed to this app for 5 years or so. You can follow the improvements over the years. In most cases, they seem to coincide with the new operating systems that are introduced every year. They tend to occur around the fall, between August and December. It doesn't seem like anything was introduced to coincide with High Sierra until recently, April 13, 2018, and they added some pretty cool features recently, including these watermark options. This is just a little something that I wanted to share with you because I think it gives you just a little bit more insight into how this app will be of use to you, not only in the short term, but in the long term. My name is Tim Brown. Thanks for tuning in. Check me out next time.